It is March 13th, 2025. We're at the Monroe County Economic Development Center, and we're glad to have a group of men who played on the 1969 Tompkinsville Bear football team. And we have with us Billy Joe Williams, John David Hamilton, Ronnie Davis, John Carroll Hamilton, Ricky Ross, and Ricky Miller. And Ricky Ross's chaperone in the back there is John Polston. I told these guys, John Polston and I'm John Oscatharp behind the camera. John Polston and I grew up watching these. They were young men at that time, and they were our heroes. And we are wanting to get some memories from them because they played on a football team that won a region championship and came very close to winning a state championship. They have a lot of good stories, and we just want to hear some of their memories. Let's start with Billy Joe. You mentioned the fact that you were very good the year before, and I think just a little bit about that. I think 8 1-1 team.
Oh yes, and we were probably as good that year as we were our senior year. We got beat in the district by Glasgow. That was the wrong team. I guess that was. Did we lose to Lafayette that year too, or just only Glasgow?
It's Glasgow.
Just Glasgow. Lafayette was just their senior year.
Yeah, Lafayette was a senior year.
Tennessee team would be Madison.
Mad Titan.
Madison, Tennessee.
Your touchdown night, wasn't it?
Yeah, I got a touchdown.
I tipped the
My
ball up,
one and only.
caught it and run it in. He's a hero.
Yeah. That's my claim to fame. John had 100 of those, but I
Of course, now that was the year, John Carroll, you might talk a little bit about the Warren County game. I think was the last game of that season, and you and Don Gullett were in the running for the leading scorer in the state, and I think remember how many touchdowns you had that night trying to get to that point?
I'm thinking 9, but I didn't even know anything about this. I didn't know anything about Don Gullett and all this stuff.
we were told to give the ball to John.
And it was nothing was ever mentioned about that, and I didn't think anything about it until like way after the game and stuff like that. And I forget who it was. I think it might have been Coach McClendon that mentioned something to me about it. He asked me if I knew that. I'm like, man, I had no idea. I was just playing football, having fun, trying to keep from getting.
Was it true that other coach was monitoring John every time he scored?
I don't know about that.
I always heard that.
I'd say they know just let Gullett score all he could too.
I think Coach Mack did say that he and Coach Pettit warned the Warren Central coach, we're trying to let our guy be the leading scorer, so we're sort of going to give it to him a little extra tonight.
In other words, we're going to run the score up well.
Yeah. And I forgot to look at what the score was. Do you remember what it was, Ricky? The score?
81-6.
Yeah. No, they scored more than that. They scored about 19, 20 points.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, on us backups, defense.
And I think in the article after the Somerset game the next year, it was looking back at the previous year. I think it said John scored 196 points that year. So, that's quite a feat.
Says he got 11 touchdowns in that game.
Yeah.
He scored every point they scored.
11 touchdowns.
They beat.
And he kicked 6 extra points in it.
Yeah. That's what it was, the extra point. Back then they were still just 1 point,
Right.
And Gullet, his senior year was all-state baseball, football, and basketball.
Professional baseball player too for Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, Yankees
Yeah.
too.
Yankees too.
Signed that big contract with the Yankees.
Yeah.
And we beat Warren Central 54-12. I thought it was a lot more.
Well, that's senior year.
Yeah, that's the senior year.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was junior year.
Then to the 69 year, of course, the coaches, Frank Pettit, Bill McClendon. Is that just 2 coaches?
Yeah.
All of us.
Now you look at a high school coaching staff, you might have, 8 or 10?
You can't leave a squeaky candle out now. He was a
Well,
trainer, he took care of that.
Yeah.
He taped them ankles up.
Give us some memories of Frank Pettit. He's no longer around.
I'll tell you a story. I quit school in 8th grade after we graduated 8th grade. Y'all know that?
No.
Frank Petty came to my house and he taught me coming back to school. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me. He was doing his job, I'm sure, like some people said. But his job was to get me back to school, and that's what he did. So, and I've never regretted it.
You brought groceries to my house several times. Several
I
times.
know we all feared him, but we had a curfew. If we'd been to bed by the time that curfew come along, I'll tell you. He come all the way to make that creek, invited in the bed. Well, he kicked my tail many times, and I deserved every one of them. So
He was tough. I can say that. You mentioned that touchdown that I got. I'll never forget. Of course, I felt the big head because I had scored a touchdown. So I yanked my headgear off before I get to the sideline. He says, "Put that headgear back on." I slap it back on, and then he takes his hands and slaps me on it. Don't you ever do that again.
He had big hands too, didn't he?
He did.
I remember this about Coach Pat, but it was our senior year, not the junior year. I was taking biology with Coach McClendon.
I know this story.
And so I had to change my schedule so I could get the proper credits. So then I had to come to the biology class that had all the football players, Ricky, Eloise, Freddie, all these, well, I call them the cut-ups because I was with the brilliant kids, you can say that. So I come in the class and what they were going over, I'd already had with Coach McClendon. And I accidentally fell asleep in his class. The next thing you knew, I heard this big thump. Coach Pettit threw a trash can at me. He hit the front of the desk and bounced off.
Metal ones,
Metal trash can. And I'm going, oh God, what did I got myself into? And he said, the next time I'll ring it. Yeah, I'll never forget that.
That kind of reminds me of an old Marine drill sergeant.
Yeah, he'd have made a good one, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Ricky, do you remember we didn't have a way to practice? I don't know, we were sophomores, I think. And I think you were the only one that had a driver's license yet. Frank had 2 cars. Coach Petty had 2 cars. And one of them was an old Dodge, like a 59 or a 60 Dodge. And he said, you all take this car, and it's me and you and Max.
Yeah.
Max Anderson.
Max Anderson. Of course, we all lived down Highway 100, and Max didn't have a way up there either.
Had the old push button gears on it.
And Ricky take it on his house at night, and then of course bring it back, and that's the way we got back and forth until when I think you got the first car maybe.
Center Point Road Express.
That's it.
Didn't have a brake on
That
it.
big old fins in the back.
It did have a big fence in
Yeah,
the back.
oh,
Yeah.
got a pea green color.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
whole thing, but you could get 40 mile gallon out of it.
Of course, I remember.
Coach Petty never got on you, did you, John Kerr?
No,
Never did.
I can't say he did.
Oh.
No, I'm serious.
Serious?
I'm serious.
He's too big to get on the table.
You never gave him no
He
reason.
never did.
One time, I remember, I think we were sophomores, but Martin was a quarterback. He graduated 68.
Neil Martin.
Neil Martin.
Yeah.
And he had me on offense, and of course I was playing guard, and my man got through and just tackled Martin. Coach Pettit told me, he said, "You're playing quarterback."
Yeah.
I said, "Okay." He told the line, "Don't block anybody." He told the defense, "I want him on the ground." Ball was centered, and I had about 10 people laying on top of me. He said, "Now learn how to block." I said, "Yes, sir."
I did that. He did that to me once too.
Before we talk about Coach McClendon, of course, I always remember Coach McClendon as the defensive coach. Was he defense and Coach Pettit
Line coach.
on offense, or
Yeah.
how did they sort of divide their duties up?
He was, Coach McClendon was a line coach, and, Coach Pettit more or less was the back and tight end and stuff.
I don't know who called the defensive signals.
Coach Pettit called defensive signals, but Coach McClendon was in his ear all the time on
That's a
defense.
good
He
way to put
was a
it.
game coach.
That's a good
Yeah,
way
he
to
was.
say it, Billy
Yeah.
Joe. Yeah.
He was a game coach.
And on offense, we had 4 guards, we're all the same weight, same height.
Yep.
We would run the plays in. I'd run them in one play, Ronnie would come in the next play, Rodney Dickerson the next play.
And the quarterback didn't run to the sideline every play. He'd have to take the play all the way back, and he's worn out by halftime from running to the sideline.
Now, I get Coach Pettit called the offensive plays.
Yeah, and I was always afraid I'd forget.
And the guards would run them in.
Yeah, they would.
What about Coach McClendon? Any good memories of Coach McClendon?
Yeah,
To me, I respected him, and he taught instead of acted a lot. I think he would pull you over and talk to you.
He was sort of the buffer.
Yeah, he
There
was.
you go.
That used the right word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Calm effect.
Right.
He was.
You're
Yeah.
right, John.
yeah, he would get down and teach you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
He was
good.
low key.
Yeah.
And
Well, you knew
Coach
that
Pettit was-
defense.
But I can
He
tell
was a drill
you,
sergeant.
our group would have took a bullet for either one of those
Yep.
coaches.
Yes.
That's true. That's exactly true.
Uh,
Cause they were so fair, man. They didn't pick and choose. If you can play, you can play. It didn't make any difference or whatever. But, both of them was, man. Coach Pettit, man. That man was just, he was my hero.
Yeah.
He really was.
He knew football.
Yeah, yes. Now, when Larry took over the head job and Bill was he just, here, Bill, you take the defense. And Larry, Coach Moore took the offense, and, they didn't have to worry with the others, and they were good combination, very good.
That was during my years,
Yeah,
with Larry Moore, Coach McClendon.
Yeah.
We would run through a wall for that bunch.
well, that's a story that about every T-ville team would make. That's why Tompkinsville football was known.
Yeah.
In
I
this
remember
area.
Coach McClendon would ride the blocking sled. You guys remember that? And that 2-man sled, he would get on that thing. And he knew if you messed up, if you didn't hit the thing right, or if you didn't make the tackle right, he'd correct you in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
That may lead into what we wanted to talk about. Mount Sterling was the first game, but talk about preseason practice, conditioning, weight strength training. Of course, today you got to be muscle bound, huge. What was conditioning like in the '60s?
Well, when did they get that Gladiator? Y'all's junior year or something? You know what I'm talking about, don't you? The weight machine.
we didn't have that.
It was down in the basement of the gym.
Of course,
We lived in hay bales and stuff like that.
you didn't have a gym at that time. The gym, the
The
old.
gym was built the year before our junior years.
Yeah.
And that's where we dressed out for football.
But
You know, we had the weight room downstairs and
Yeah.
We did have a weight room.
isometric.
y'all
thing that
remember,
we used.
They called it the Gladiator.
to condition us for the Mount Sterling game, it was gonna be played during the day in August. We started practicing like the last of July or the 1st of August in the heat of the day.
Yeah,
I mean,
as soon
the
as it
hottest
was
part
legal,
of
we
the day.
started practicing. Sometimes 2 a day, man.
2 a day, yeah, we practiced before daylight and then right before dark.
And by the 3rd quarter, we had Mount Sterling wore out. We was used to it.
Yeah.
But we played our hearts out in Mount Sterling. Everybody played. And it was a good game.
It was a tough game.
But you know, I always thought that the toughest team we played all year was Russellville.
Oh,
Yeah.
We played them down there the first game.
First game was down there. That's when Rodney got
Yeah,
gold top.
that was the only time that I can remember ever getting a punt.
They had a little Chinese guard, you remember him, Ronnie? He wasn't 5 foot tall. He was a Korean or something. And I mean, he was huge.
They had an all-state tackle named Duffy. I can still remember
He
him.
was my roommate when I went to college.
Oh, really?
First year. Somebody walks in, he's big guy. Walked in there and like, are you from Monroe County, Tompkinsville? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm Larry Duffy. Y'all cheat us out of that football game. It just exploded. I mean, he just exploded. Like, he said, I can't room with you, man. I gotta go someplace else.
We didn't tell them to shank that punt.
Yeah, no, we didn't.
We'll get to that game. The Mount Sterling game at the beginning of the season, recreational bowl. Does anybody know how we got invited to the recreational bowl?
Not a clue.
They picked the 2 preseason, 2 top teams in Class A.
How far were we ranked? We were ranked number 1 in Class A.
I've
Yeah.
got the rank.
We
We were number 4 over the whole state.
that was,
I knew we were pretty high. I didn't know exactly where we were there.
that's before the Louisville schools got
That's
into
where they
it.
just
Right?
spelled Tompkinsville, read it. In the rain, they spelled Tompkins,
TA.
There were only three classes back then,
Right.
right, Ricky?
Right.
And most of the schools were Class A.
Yeah.
But there, I've got it in here too.
Here's where we're number 1.
Yeah, they was more Class A than anything.
Yeah,
Just the Louisville schools were AAA.
yeah,
No matter, some of them were small schools, but they still were AAA.
yeah.
Of course, I think Billy Joe said while we were out in the parking lot, or maybe it was Ronnie, they had this huge trophy, 3 or 4 or 5 feet tall. Sure that, they were going to be able to keep that at home. What was the key? Tompkinsville won that game 16-6. What do we remember about the Mount Sterling game?
John and Carol Allen.
I remember Roger Anderson leaving my jersey and stuff.
Yeah.
In the dressing room, I had to wear somebody else's clothes.
You wore somebody else's?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the radio people come down there and asked Coach Pettit, said, where's Hamilton? He said, what do you mean? He said, number so-and-so, 27.
Yeah, the
He
27.
said, there ain't no 27 out there. Where are you hiding, you man? There's a radio station up there. Yeah, Roger, man.
Hey, that's the first time Coach Pettit got on me. He did. That's your responsibility.
Yeah,
He said,
he was right, though.
You
I
forgot
thought he was
your
gonna
jersey?
get, yeah. And pants too, cause I was pulling my pants up and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
They were a good team. They just hadn't met us yet. What it was.
We
And I
fought.
tell you what, Paul Evans was a big contributor to that
He was.
game. He played nose guard and he could get to the quarterback before he got the ball most of the time.
They hadn't
Just
seen
so
anybody as
fast.
fast as
No, he was there. I've seen somebody, he wear all those pads.
His
All
arm.
his arms and everything. Yeah, he looked bigger than what he was with all those pads
They
on.
hung down like a
And he-
glove.
Yes.
He would squeeze through that guard in the center and it got like that. I mean, he was so fast.
is Paul still living?
No.
He passed away.
Yeah, Paul.
He had a brother Bill.
Here's
Yeah.
First cousin.
Yeah,
First cousin.
There's a picture of Leroy, and underneath it said Tooley atones. It says Tompkinsville senior quarterback Leroy Tooley atoned for a costly pass interception that led to Mount Sterling touchdown early in the game by returning the ensuing kickoff 80 yards for a touchdown.
There you go.
I was fast, but Leroy was quick. He was quicker. He's like the cat.
He could turn left. He could be running straight and turn left real fast.
He just. Oh man.
Well, see, Max is playing end in that game then, if Leroy's quarterback.
playing in.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't remember
took
that.
over,
Yeah.
I took over the spin.
Well, I know sometimes they would swap. I know one time Max was quarterback in the next play, and Leroy was at the end, the next play, Leroy was quarterback and Max would go at the end.
I can't remember
That's one reason Max retired.
Oh, okay.
I know, I
He
didn't
told
remember.
me that verbatim in my trailer at Bowling Green.
I didn't remember.
So, Mount Sterling will come back in the discussion a little bit later, but we win the Recreational Bowl 16-6. And then the next game we play Somerset. Of course, the schedule I've got there doesn't say where these games are played. Well, we know where Mount Sterling was played up there, but Somerset, we beat them 42-0.
That was at Somerset, wasn't it?
No,
Now,
No, that was
That was
at
here?
home,
It was at home.
because we went up there the following year. We
Okay.
never rated #1 instead.
Can you all remember Coach Pettit bringing a clipping in from their paper at Somerset, dogging us how that they used to beat up on us on Tompkinsville? We hadn't played them in many years until that game.
never had beaten.
Never had beat them.
Look at the size
Oh, and
of
four.
Somerset, the size of Tompkinsville.
But he used that for fodder for us and hung that up there on the bulletin board in the dressing room and wore us out over it.
I remember, like I said a while ago, the first play of the game, we went 80 yards, John took it.
What, now, our senior year, who did we play the scrimmage game? The
LaRue County.
County.
We beat them,
That's it.
That's where George Earl broke his arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frank-
Yeah, that
was
Yeah,
LaRue.
that's right, that was LaRue County.
that was, they had a guy by the name of Embry.
John Embry.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And we held Embry in that to, I think, 0 yards, minus yards.
Uh-huh.
He couldn't do nothing against us, but he was everything Western.
Yes, he
Yes,
was.
he was.
Yes, he was. He sure was.
I've got the article where we played Somerset, that was the Somerset paper. My sister got that somehow, I don't know how, I know she got that. And down here's a picture, it says Max Anderson played split end for Tompkinsville when he wasn't quarterbacking the team. It's shown as he capable of hauling in a pass. It was one of them typical where it rained some and down there the shortstop area of baseball diamond is solid mud. And the field could be dust, at times. And that'd be mud.
That was mud in that corner there in front of the old gym, or the gym.
Yeah.
It was all mud most of the time after the rain.
It's swampy, it's low land.
Yeah, it was.
Remember those sycamore trees that said?
Yeah.
I remember getting up early in the morning and going, picking up rocks off the football field. I mean, it's
And I believe, maybe before we started filming, did you say Somerset was the game that Max Anderson got hurt? Maybe that was his last game that he played for one reason or another?
Yeah.
I was thinking he played 3 games, but I guess it's
I
just 2
think
games.
he played more than one.
Max quarterbacked the whole season the year before, right?
Right.
oh yeah.
Game number 3 was Russellville, which I think maybe you've already said, quite likely Tompkinsville and Russellville were probably actually the 2 best teams in the state.
And we played Russell down there that first game.
We beat Russellville
On the
8-0.
There
What-
was safety in the game.
How did, okay, Ricky said we scored a safety. How did we score the touchdown in that game? Anybody remember?
I've got it.
Not me.
I seen them.
Paul probably.
I know it didn't take me long to go to sleep after that game though. We were all,
They were a tough team, though.
nah, they were tough. They had a good team.
Was that one played at Russellville?
Yeah.
Now, at the field they still play on,
It is.
where the end zone goes up in
Ray
the corner?
Stadium, yeah.
So that was the
We thought
game.
we'd walk in the Rose Bowl.
That was the game I mentioned earlier, Rodney Dickerson got a concussion. And I don't think he came back the rest of the game, did he? After
No.
that, he was,
He didn't know where he was.
Yeah.
He didn't know he was at a football game
Yeah.
the rest of the game.
But that little guard I was talking about, he's all state. I mean, he's one that probably killed him, I guess.
Yeah,
Well, Duffy was definitely an all-state tackle.
yeah.
Yeah, he was, he was in me.
They had a big strong fullback threshold.
Yeah.
What was his
Yeah.
name? You mentioned it a while ago, Duffy.
Larry.
Larry Duffy? Okay.
He liked
For some
to
reason,
play on
I'm
the
thinking
field.
Patrick Duffy, and he's the guy that played on Dallas.
Leroy scored the one touchdown on the sneak. And the other score of the game was credited to the Bear defense when Eloy Screams and tackle Gary Spears caused a fumble in the Russellville end zone. He did it in a safety.
Huh.
Well, most of you have a roster there. While Ricky's read a couple of names there, we pretty much invited the juniors and seniors off of that team. And you've mentioned some of these guys that are on the paper quit or maybe beforehand, but as you go down through there, I guess the first, Elois Grooms, he's been mentioned a couple of times. That season, he was a junior.
Yeah.
But was he playing a lot primarily on defense at that
He
time?
played
He's a
defensive end.
Yeah.
When we run that four, he is coming from one end and Johnny Bashan over on the other side.
Yeah. So Johnny Bashan, he was also a junior on that team. John David is with us. John David Hamilton, he's on there on the roster. Steve Hurt was only a sophomore, but his name will come up later.
I think he was on there mainly because he was a punter.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Yeah, his name will come up in a later game there. Johnny Bashan. Ricky Jackson was only a freshman, but was Ricky the kicker that year?
He kicked the extra points.
You've been kicking ever since he's in the seventh or eighth grade.
Yeah.
That's all he's ever done.
Yeah, he kicked the year before.
Yeah.
Joe Brown beat him out.
He could kick it as straight as a
I didn't
string,
realize that.
but he barely would through the ball. I mean, we were trying to kick a field goal. Max would usually kick
John
that.
David, that's right.
You're right.
Joe Brown,
Joe Brown,
Yeah.
The next senior on that roster is Gary Spears. His name has come up a couple of times. It lists him 5'10", 215.
No, he was 8 foot tall and 500 pounds. Don't let that fool you.
Was his specialty offense, defense, or both?
Yeah.
We always go for
He
He
it.
was
was
no
defense.
Tough.
His only problem, he would dislocate his shoulders.
Oh, and I had to play his backup.
He was running kind of
I
like,
wasn't big enough to play a tackle.
Gary's tough. He came from Salina, transferred up here.
I don't believe he even played in the Bardstown game, did he?
Gary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think
Yeah, he was
did?
like,
Yeah, because he was.
I know that shoulder.
Yeah, it hurt him. Gary was always in and out with that shoulder.
See him there playing off the block.
You can see when he's not completely out.
That's Russellville game.
his
Yeah.
shoulder would come up.
Oh, that's a good picture that
Yes,
they
it
got
is.
there, wasn't it?
It
course.
is.
Of course, John David didn't. So you're mostly wide receiver.
Yes.
Any, much defense that year, or
No.
just offense?
No, I wasn't. We had some good defensive backs that year. And they were seniors.
Yeah.
They were better. I mean,
Now,
just,
John David had a good pair of hands, and he was fast.
Jump a little bit too.
Yeah, he could.
Yeah.
Okay. Billy Joe Williams. Billy Joe's here with us. And what was your major position?
Well, my junior year, I played defensive end most of the time. And I was a backup tackle, although I wasn't big enough to play tackle. But most of the time I was backing up Gary or Johnny, and most of the time it was Gary, because Gary, they said, he had a dislocated wing about every other game or more. But he would come back from that and go back in after a while. But I don't think we played a four-man front defense until my senior year, and that pulled kind of me out of that. That we had better guys up front than what I would have been. So I went, I just kind of floated on defense most of
We
the
switched
time.
out to six man line too.
Yeah, well, when we're playing 6 or 7 or 6, most of the time I was there, or 5.
I think Bill Bashan thought the forward defense when he played at UK, and he came down and more or less was talking Coach Pettit, and this is the defense that you need to
It
run.
was new at the time.
Yeah, it was new at the time. I
We
think
didn't
Bill
run it,
Bashan,
but that's the first time we'd ever seen
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But we had some big guys that filled that gap.
John, look at Gary Spears' helmet, see all the paint knocked off.
That's because-
That explains it, doesn't it?
Absolutely, man, absolutely. He was.
This goes back to the year before, but Gary set up.
It might be able to pick
that
it up.
interception that I got against Madison, Tennessee. Gary had the quarterback dead to rights. I mean, he had it nailed. And I could see that the quarterback wasn't gonna be able to throw the ball anywhere if he threw it at all. And Gary had it. And I take off to help Gary. And Gary doesn't, he gets the ball off, but he's on his back foot when he gets it off. And he doesn't throw it very far. It hits me right in the gut. And there was nobody between me and the goal post, and
It was like a 60-yard interception for you, wasn't it? It made you just.
yeah, but John, I thought I'm never they're gonna catch me. I was slow. Me and Gary Spears were the slowest guys on the football team, best I remember.
Let's see. Of course, the next one on the roster, Ronnie Davis. Ronnie, you were a big, bulking 5'9", 160.
Yeah, I still am.
But did you play some offensive line with?
Offense and defense.
Yep.
I played left offensive guard, and at that time we called it the rover, the third linebacker.
Well,
Monster Man, that's what he called him. Monster Man.
drop on down to Ricky Ross with us too. Also, he's 5'10", 160. So our two guards were not very big, but
All four of them.
All four.
We about the same.
Same weight.
yeah.
But
Rodney Davis is 160.
Yeah.
He was 5'10", 160. Paul was 5'10", 150.
Yeah.
So all the guards were about the same.
So Rodney Dixon, did Paul Evans play offensive guard also?
Yeah. Now he could switch out with us.
we all just switched, all four of us played about the same amount.
Run the plays in.
But I also played center a whole lot. I was a long snapper on like extra points,
Yep.
punts.
See, that's how you got your name on this play twice. I'm hurt. It says guards Ricky Ross and the center Ricky Ross.
Yeah. Of course, Paul Evans, you've already talked about him a little bit. Coach Pettit, there were only two good articles in the paper that year. After the Somerset game, it talked about the Mount Sterling game, the Somerset game.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the second Russellville game, a huge article about that. But I think in both of those, it talked quite a bit about Paul. The one thing, I think Ricky remembered it in the first one, and it was actually a Courier Journal article, but the guy from Louisville had come down, he was trying to find Paul, and he said he was back there combing his hair. He said, you never do know, somebody might want to take my picture. But talk about, I think you may already have, but talk about Paul Evans. I can just always remember people talking about how incredibly quick, I guess quick would be the word, he was off the ball defensively.
Quicker than quick.
Yeah.
He was.
There's several times he would tackle whoever got the ball before he ever got back to the line.
And there was a game too, he saved that spot.
Yeah.
2 or 3
I mean,
times, he tackled the quarterback before he could even hand the
Hand the
ball.
ball.
Yeah, as soon as that ball moved, Paul's
They was complaining about him being offside or whatever.
go.
You couldn't block him.
No.
You could not block
His
Paul.
arm was so long, I mean, he could outmaneuver anybody.
Fellas, I gotta get back to work.
Oh, my
Okay?
God.
So,
You're gonna leave,
man, it's great, listen.
we're gonna keep talking.
All right.
Any
Put some
parting,
sense in mind.
any
Don't tell
parting
me that.
words before you leave us?
No, just keep on bragging about me.
Hey, don't good. Years ago,
John Carroll, we appreciate you coming by, and sorry you have to leave.
All right, brother. All right. Rick, John. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of Coach Pettit's quotes in one of those newspaper articles was, he's one of the quickest players he'd ever seen, and he basically said he could not be blocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And practice was much better.
He caused so much interruption in practice.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, okay,
Wait.
line 'em up, y'all running.
Yeah, we'd be getting ready for the next game and be on offense and Paul be on defense and man, I can't block him, coach. I can't get him.
we took his hand, just let him out of the way, and he over the top of him.
Well, he turned sideways and still run.
I still think he weighed less than 150 pounds. Because he was little, and it was just like he could fit through any crack he wanted to fit. I mean, him and his hands hanging down like
Yeah.
pads from the tip to the top.
And I'll tell you something else about him. He was slim, but he was strong.
Yeah,
Those arms were strong.
He was strong.
He was one of the strongest guys on the ball team. If you remember, he could press bench with some of the heavyweights.
Yeah.
And before every game, he'd polish his shoes, shine them. And he always, before every game. And he'd have, like the pros, have the white socks with like the black part. He would fix it when he was wearing these hoses, where he didn't pull up his socks. So it looked like he was different. And he was, that's just the way he was. He, a lot of people don't know this, but pretty much all the black guys that were on the team were cousins. Paul was my first cousin. Paul was John's first cousin.
I didn't realize that.
Because John and I are double first cousins.
And we've let John, we'll get back to the roster, but I told John, we talked about this before we turned the camera on. Of course, we still have John D with us. Talk about the fact that up through elementary and maybe, I guess about middle school was when there was integration.
Yeah.
And you were some of the first classes that experienced integration. How did that go? How was that experience for you, John David? We've let John Carroll get away, but we talked a little bit about it before we turned the camera on.
You see, when we didn't have any structural activities or sports to play with before integration. Our activities during, quote, recess was somebody would bring a ball and bat and you play ball and bat or football and you get out in the field and it was a field. We didn't know how to line up. We didn't know how to quarterback except for what we saw on TV. No one taught us because it just wasn't there. So when we got into the system, I'll say integration instead of desegregation, is when we start watching and learning to play. I mean, I hated football, and I'm sure John would, because we didn't know what we were getting into.
Well, he did say before we turned the camera on, he didn't know anything about football.
He did not, we didn't know. And it was like we were behind the 8 ball from the jump. But it took people taking the time and the patience to work with us and show, hey, this is what you do. This is what you do. And our teammates, I guess that's the best part. The teammates all come together.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, I didn't know anything about football. I really didn't want to play football.
Yeah.
But then you see, at that time, Coach Pettit coming, I think he had just gotten here or was coming in, and it was.
Yeah, he started
it. Before you had, what was the other coach? Old man Carter and somebody.
Yeah.
Clifton Carter.
Clifton Carter, that group was all, but Frank Pettit came in and he didn't leave us out. He did not leave us out, even though we were terrible. When I say terrible, that's being nice. We didn't know what we were doing. But it took us watching and practicing and learning to get there. Hell, our PE class we had one swing at the school. You know, I know there's other kids around the county that had the same thing, but ours was dilapidated.
Yeah.
And we just learned, picked it up, and like I said again, I'll reiterate this. It took the teammates and the coaches. I don't know if they saw the potential.
That was what I was about to say. Maybe Coach Pettit saw the potential.
Now, not every black kid that came into the school could play sports. They, you know, some didn't want to, some were athletically inclined to do so. But the ones who stuck it out and the ones who the coaches worked with them, well, you look.
Yeah.
Ellis came from that school with us. You know, Sammy Graves, John Carroll, all of those guys came in there.
Of course, Bobby Hamilton. He was a good football player, but even better basketball player. But he played with my brother, and I've heard stories when he first started playing basketball. He couldn't. And I think I know the man. I think that who was credited with really helping him, and we all know what he became as far as a basketball player.
Yeah, we would find anything that was round and a post that we could put it on, and we would play.
Yeah.
And when we played, we watched TV and we saw, you know, I remember seeing the first black athlete was Will Chamberlain when he played for the Kansas Jail. And then it's like, oh, he can do it, so can we. You know, that inspiration was there. And to follow it and to come along with it, and if you may not realize it, but John Carroll, Bobby, and all this, Elois and everybody, we were the future for the kids behind us.
Yeah.
That saw, hey, they can do it. You know, that's my hero. Let's go do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
some went on to college, some didn't.
Yeah.
It's just the way it was.
And going along with what you said, I read an article not too long ago, and they were talking about, you know, the younger kids are looking up to you, and if you do something wrong, they're gonna do something wrong. But you are an inspiration to them to follow in their footsteps, like you say. He can do it, I can do it. So,
Let's go on down the roster. Just David Stevens. He was a senior. Did David? Was he on the line?
Yeah,
He's a center.
center.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, David didn't play defense, though, did he?
No, sir.
No, he never played defense. David was a big guy, though. He was
Yeah.
huge that day and time. David
Yeah.
was a big
Listed
guy.
him 6'1", 212. Yeah.
Yeah.
big for a
Well,
center,
one of those big
sure.
guys.
You didn't see centers that big. did you?
I wanted to know. I'm sorry.
Of course, listed Max Anderson, 6'4", 203. He was a senior. Leroy Tooley has been mentioned a lot. 5'8", 140.
That's about it, wasn't it?
That's it.
Quarterback and receiver? We say, and of course, again, after Max left, he was the quarterback. then. And of course, John Carroll, Hamilton, we've talked about, but now that he's gone, anybody want to say anything about John Carroll?
He was our brother.
And
He was my hero.
Yeah,
There you go.
he was all our hero.
He was a hero.
I'll bet you in his 2 main years there, I bet you he had 15 touchdowns called back.
Yeah.
Clipping,
Clipping.
and about half of them, the Clippers was behind him. He done passed them up. Boy, make Frank some
He's
mad.
talking about the first play from the line of scrimmage. If you recall, John, he was tailback our sophomore year. And the first play against Trigg County, who's our regional opponent, if I'm not wrong, he ran a touchdown on a counter play.
Counter, crossbuck.
Crossbuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
going toward the street, going that way.
And we beat them, 24-0? And that's a regional
Yeah.
game. That won the region for us.
And he was a good defensive back.
Oh, yes.
I remember this, I still remember, somewhere I have this picture of him tackling Jerry Dunn, when Jerry Dunn went to Glasgow, and John was playing defensive back. He's got him in arm wrapped around him in midair. And I always thought that, You know, I want to be a defensive back. No, I don't.
That was our sophomore year. Glasgow was playing us over here.
That's right.
0-0.
And Glasgow would take Jerry Dunn, bring him across the middle, and Jerry Dunn would go up, and he'd get out, jump everybody, of course. He's a basketball player. But he had good hands, and he'd come down to pass. And I remember John hitting him as quick as he had his full stretch and had that ball in his hands. And John hit him at full force. And I don't see how he kept from breaking the guy in two.
That was the one that he did.
So, like our sophomore year when Glasgow, we tied them, and Lincoln House put us in the playoffs. You remember that?
Yeah, you're right. It was 0-0. And if Caverna had to beat somebody on the last game of the year, Glasgow would have got the bid to play trick. That was that old, I forgot what the Dickinson system.
Lincoln House was something other on it.
Another senior, George Earl Miller. I think he's been mentioned a little bit. George Earl, a receiver.
Yeah. Drake.
Wing back, wasn't he? We run a wing a whole lot.
Yeah, I had to have a halfback like.
He'd crack back on them linebackers. You could hear cries of agony coming. They wouldn't call it. They finally cracked down a few years later on that about the linebackers, you know, pretty blindsided for a wing back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
George Earl was fast.
Sneaky fast, wasn't he?
Yeah, if he got clear of the line, George Earl he's going to pick up some good yardage.
We was talking a while ago, we scrimmaged in LaRue County, and George Earl come out holding his arm, and Coach Pettit said, "Squeaky, tape him up." Back in he went, got home, he had broke his arm. Finished playing the game with a broke arm.
That's a pretty good tape job of Squeak.
He's done several.
Old Dr. Kendall could tape him up.
What about Marshall Whitlow? He's listed as a senior. Did Marshall play?
Marshall played a little,
Yeah,
I
but
believe.
he was like a backup
Yeah,
linebacker.
Yeah.
Fullback, backup behind Paul Bashon at
Yeah.
fullback.
Marshall was a junior that year.
Yeah, he was a junior,
okay.
but he was.
yeah, that's wrong.
He's listed as a senior because of his eligibility.
Oh,
He
really?
was older.
Okay.
He was actually he was older than we were.
Yeah.
But
He didn't get to play.
he didn't get to play his
year.
senior year because he was just too old.
Yeah, I see.
Marshall's a good ball player too.
And then the senior, Paul Bashon, I think we skipped up there up above. The junior, Johnny Bashon. So the second and third in the line of the Bashon boys.
Yeah.
Paul was tough as nails. Paul reminded me, I guess if there's anybody that's played since then that reminded me a lot of Paul with John Boy Ross. You just could not stop Paul. You couldn't keep him from getting 5 or 6 yards. He was that good. If we needed short yardage, it went to Paul. Mm-hmm. And he was tough on defense as well.
John, there's Paul and John in that Kerr Journal article.
Yeah.
They're no longer alive. There's
Yeah.
a lot of them.
Of course, John, we mentioned Johnny a little bit earlier. He and Elois on opposite ends of each other,
It's like John Carroll said.
sometimes meeting at the quarterback, I guess.
You tell me how that, when they were seniors, how that group lost to Glasgow in the district.
Had them 14-0.
Yeah, we did.
Throw the bad interception and got it started.
Where was Joe, when's that game the other day?
You know, that's the only game that I've ever played that I don't remember.
Do you know Coach Stewart?
What?
I had
The
a sprained ankle.
game they were in 14-0.
What about it?
What was his final score?
21-14.
It was unreal. We were winning.
In the fourth quarter, we was up 14-0.
Yeah.
That's the way they
Was the
go.
game at T-Ville or Glasgow?
Glasgow.
See, they just took one team back then. That was terrible because Glasgow and Tompkinsville and Campbellsville about every year you know,
We were in upper echelon of Class A every year,
Yeah.
as far as ranking.
But
goes.
nowadays, you can go through the season, not win a game, and go to playoffs.
yeah, they
Yeah.
take 4.
Does that make any sense?
Some districts just got 4.
Old Campbellsville had the toughest defensive tackle I ever played against. Was his name Wagster?
Wagner. Waxter?
It's Waxter.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
UT, I think.
Yeah, he did.
God,
Played Tennessee.
he killed all of us. I mean, Gary,
He's tough.
he come out and dislocated his shoulder, and they moved Johnny John over there, and he about handled him, so he went back. And about every lineman we had, we'd go in and play 5 or 6 plays against him, and we'd have to leave.
Thank goodness they
That's
did.
junior year, wasn't it?
God, he killed. I had blood from my nose. He busted my head. I was solid blood, one end to the other.
You know we beat him.
Huh?
We beat him.
Beat them good. Beat them about 33-7.
And do you remember about that game? The week before, that was Campbellsville, your senior year. There was an article that came out in the Courier Journal that said, Carl Pike is to Campbellsville what Santa Claus is to Christmas. Do you remember?
Santa Claus, he did.
I remember that. This is like, he was, and Carl Pike, who was the head coach, which I later knew from his time in Franklin and around. But he had on Santa because he was big and chubby, and he had the Santa hat on, and he's on his sled, and that quarterback they were pulling his sled. I forgot the name.
Now, George Earl told it, and I believe it. If you know George Earl, when we was getting ready to kick off, he was on the end of the kickoff team over next to the Campbellsville bench.
Yeah.
He says he looked at him, he said, "We fix to kick your butt, Santa Claus." I don't doubt it. George Earl had a little mean streak in him.
And the first play of that ball game, you know what it was? It was a long pass to George Earl going down the right side. Yep. A long pass. And that threw them off, and they were in North America.
Well, back to the schedule. The fourth game was Greensburg. We may not talk much about that. 64-0. That didn't sound like much of a game.
I believe they disbanded their program before the season was up, John.
Okay.
They were low in numbers. It was terrible.
The fifth game was the only regular season loss, 21-6 to Lafayette. Was that played down there at Lafayette?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like I tell some of them, that's a rubber ball. It's like a basketball. It bounces, and you try to catch that thing, or and it's like you can't get a hold of it. It ain't leather.
They were good. They went to the finals of the state that year.
I got called for an illegal receiver downfield. Now, you remember that, Ricky? Oh,
Yeah.
Coach Pettit. I mean, I thought he was going to absolutely kill me. But it was a pass play. We scored on that play. It was a pass to Paul Bashine, I believe.
I believe Steve Hurt.
Was it Steve?
Yeah. The film shows you patting him on the back as soon as he catches it in the end zone.
That wasn't very smart, but I can still remember. I blocked the guy, and I thought, I lost where the ball was, and I thought surely, the play is over, and I turned loose and was going downfield to block somebody. And here comes I heard the ball right over my head.
Oh, man.
Hold it back.
Call it back. That's a touchdown pass.
But Rick, you said they played for the state championship in Tennessee that year.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were no slouch.
Their quarterback made all OVC at Tennessee Tech his junior and senior year, Gary Purdue. So
And they had a halfback, tailback that was fast as lightning balloon.
Blue
Kenny,
played
Blue.
softball against him several years.
Blue Street.
Okay, so then we come off of that loss and we beat Glasgow 12-0. I guess after the disappointing loss the previous year, we get them back this year 12-0. Any memories of that Glasgow game?
We ought to beat them 35-0. That's the weakest Glasgow team had through the years right in there. We fumbled. I'm right here at it. No offense for GCS, fumbleitis for Bears. I believe we fumbled the ball 4 times. Paul fumbled twice.
I know it when Happy meeting at halftime.
No, it wasn't, I remember that.
Yeah.
We came out with a different attitude in the second half, I'll tell you that.
Then we beat Cumberland County 56-7. That, not much there. They disbanded football altogether not too many years after that.
Traditional score for
Yeah.
us in Cumberland, bless their hearts.
Beat Caverna 34-0. Beat Metcalf 71-6. Then Campbellsville 21-0. And is that the game you've already been talking about, the Campbellsville game?
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody know who coaching Caverna when we beat them 34-0 y'all senior year?
Can't remember.
Sam
Sam
Clark.
Clark.
He did.
He was.
Huh.
And it says they went 60 yards on the first possession. That boy Sam was always ready for the first possessions on offense. And said only the failure of an end to come down with he caught it past the end zone in the back line, he was out of bounds. It said kept them from scoring. They never did score from there on. Reality caught up with them.
I'll tell you what, we had better players that we played against in our own scrimmages every day in practice than what we met up with in most of the places that I'm talking about like Greensburg and Metcalf County.
Cumberland.
Oh,
Right.
our substitutes, our backup, our underclassmen were a lot tougher than some of these starters that we played against. Oh, it could have been 100-0 if Coach Pettit would allowed it to happen on some of these things.
Greensburg, I remember one player, they come over around the sideline making a tackle, was out there playing in tennis shoes. Now that says a whole lot right there.
Warren County beat them 54-12. And that was the end, I guess, of the regular season. So one loss going into the postseason, and that is the rematch with Russellville. How was it determined that it would be played here?
It rotates.
Rotated? Yeah.
You skip where we punished old Metcalf County 71-6.
I think we might have mentioned it, 71-6. No running clock back then, was there?
No.
But I can guarantee you, our starters weren't playing probably beyond the third quarter.
That was the game Coach Pettit had the flu and sat in the car over there on the sideline. He never got out. He had the flu. Boy, Ronnie Davis, you ain't speaking up.
Which game?
Metcalf County. And listen to this. Ronnie Davis, 35 pass interception. Freddie Moody, he run an interception. That was his. I had one against Somerset. Me and Billy Joe and Freddie, and I guess that was your only one, wasn't it, Ronnie? Touchdown?
Yeah.
Do you not remember it?
No.
Lord, how can you forget that, Billy Joe? How can a man forget his only touchdown?
Where was I?
71-6.
That was the
I'm
Lions' dream.
not telling this one on Ricky. You don't want me to?
Why I tell it?
Go ahead.
I'm here to
We're
defend
talking about
myself.
Metcalf County. They fumbled.
We were playing defense, and the quarterback dropped back, and I think Billy Joe may have hit him or something. Anyway, somebody hit me and spun me around, and I caught the ball, and honey, I seen daylight. And the way I took
He
off,
took off and everything was
he
in.
tackled me about 20 yards down the field, Billy Joe.
He was pushing me off. And I said, whoa, you're going the wrong way.
Oh, it's going the wrong way?
Pushing me. I finally tackled him.
I was gonna get me one of them touchdowns.
I started to tell that on Ricky, but I'm glad you
I
did.
don't remember that.
But the way they hit me, it just kind of circled me around there, and I seen a hole, and I hit it.
It's a good.
That's the fastest Ricky Ross ever run the whole season.
Well, I was heading to the end zone, Billy Joe.
I was lucky to run you down.
It's a good thing Billy Joe was a little faster. You'd have been like Jim Marshall for the Vikings.
Yeah.
He
Did
did.
you idiot, you going the wrong way?
Oh, man. Well, that's why we're here. And then the big playoff game that has gone down in the history of Tompkinsville sports. Russellville, we beat Russellville the third game 8-0. We come back and we don't get to play on Friday night, do we? It's not a Friday night matchup. Ricky, tell us a little bit about why you didn't play on Friday night.
Well, it came a big snow, best I remember, and they scheduled it for the following Monday. And it was a day game. We played it in the middle of the day, and the snow was melted, but it was just like a pig pen, just sloppy and.
It's still cold too.
It wasn't all that cold. Their coach had a short sleeve shirt on that game.
Yeah, but
Really?
that old mud and water was cold once you hit it. But it was a slugfest, as usual with Russellville.
They brought 3 charter buses. There's that, of course, the visitor side, it was full, and they were standing down there, once the bleachers in, they were standing 2 or 3 deep on both sides of the.
I know that's gonna put a whooping on
Is
them.
that where the dog got on the field?
Yeah.
I think it was my dog.
Eddie,
It was either mine or Jimmy Baxter's dog.
Eddie Profits.
Is Eddie Carter?
Yeah, it's Eddie's.
Yeah, they lived out there across the street. Eddie and Jimmy, my grandmother, right there.
I remember chasing that thing, went around the field 3 or 4 times.
Campbellsville tried to pass on every down in the second half, every one of them. Johnny had about 3 sacks, and they lost 2 or 3. They had a good quarterback that time. You remember his name?
Mm-hmm.
Dwayne Squires. They had beat Warren Central 100-0 that year.
Who we talking about now, Russellville?
Russellville.
No, are you back on
Oh,
Campbellsville?
yeah, I'm back on Campbellsville.
Yeah.
The game,
Of course, the Russellville game ends 0-0, and while we're talking about zeros, of course, Mount Sterling scored 6 points. Somerset, Russellville, Greensburg, Glasgow, Caverna, Campbellsville, and the second Russellville game, all shutouts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shutouts that season.
That should be some kind of record,
Yep.
Rick.
I was looking back through the annuals, I don't know, not too long ago, just looking at the losses that we had in the time we were freshmen until we graduated. And I'm thinking it was only like 8 or 10 losses in 4 years.
it wasn't that many, I don't think. But
I can't remember, it wasn't much. Right here's 2, we'll play it in Bardstown.
The only
The year before, the only one was Glasgow.
Glasgow.
Year
You was
before,
never blown out.
Huh?
You was in every game, you were never blown out.
oh, no.
The ones you lost.
The blowing out was always from our side.
Right, right.
But our sophomore year, Glasgow won the district. And that was wasn't our only loss.
Yeah.
And then the year before that, Bowling Green cheated us. Down there, and I think that's the last time we played Bowling Green.
What year was that? What
Was that 66?
I believe the year before, Billy Joe, was that 0-0 game with Glasgow, and then the year before that other one was one you're thinking
Yeah,
about.
Okay.
sophomore year, we tied Glasgow, and we got to go on because we beat the team that they had played and we'd played, we beat them better than Glasgow had or something.
I'm thinking when we were freshmen, we lost at Bowling Green and Campbellsville. Ricky, what do you remember?
May have been that Bowling Green, I don't know, I lost at Campbellsville for sure, that's a good team.
Joe, Billy Joe, back through the years, Glasgow was always our thorn in the side.
And Campbellsville was always right in there in the
But
mix.
you would say Glasgow, it was just like we would get a little scared or nervous or something.
Oh, we got excited.
Yeah.
That's what I try to tell football players today.
We were intimidated when I played. The name Glasgow, we just
But Glasgow had already moved ahead of us program-wise by that time. I mean, we were pretty much even back there in our high school days with Glasgow.
Yeah.
I'd like to think we were better. I think we were honestly better our junior year than Glasgow, but they beat us. And we were talking that a little bit before it started. We had some guys that violated curfew, and that's something else that Coach Pettit wouldn't allow. And I mean, we had some good starters that violated curfew, I wouldn't get into who they are, but he wouldn't let them play.
Yeah.
And that probably cost him the district that year, but that just shows you what kind of coach that he was.
My junior year, they beat us 7-0. My senior year, they beat us 14-7. I'll never forget it. I mean, it sticks with you.
There's a world of them games through the history of Team in Nebraska.
Oh, yeah.
Them kind of scores.
I think when Ricky Miller and I talked to Coach McClendon last year, Bardstown went ahead and played that Friday night. Didn't he say that? And did they not come down? Did they come down then and scout us on the Monday?
Yeah, there were no snow up there, so they played on Friday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the story, Billy Joe. You know, it just hit me a couple years ago. Why did we play that game on Saturday instead of Friday night? See, we played on Monday and Bardstown had played on Friday night. They had 2 extra days of rest. And I said, Coach, how come they didn't at least, play it on a Saturday afternoon? It was cold, make all the sense in the world. He said, Bardstown didn't want to. I said, Bardstown had the say-so on
Something that important.
That's what he said. I said, the KHSAA ought to have made the ruling on that. He said, I agree. He said, Frank made 2 or 3 calls. Threatened a lawsuit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of course, he just blowing smoke, Bill said. But,
And that, you're talking about the next game when we played Bardstown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To give us a chance to have another day of rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And we was beat all to pieces after that Russellville game.
Yeah.
It said John Carroll ran it 9 times for 52. Paul Bashan 13 for 46. Of course, again, the score is 0-0. It did say in the middle of the first quarter, Leroy had a 50-yard run to the Russellville 14-yard line, but it was called back on a clipping. So I guess that was one of our chances at scoring.
We got down there another time too, and
we've
does it say that?
Yeah. The other time, Ronnie, see if you remember this. I don't remember what part of the game it was, but it said Ronnie recovered a fumble at the Russellville 20. Do you remember what part of the game that was? No. We had 2 runs by George Earl. A run by Leroy got to the 4-yard line. On 2nd down, an incomplete pass to John Carroll. On 3rd down, Leroy ran on a 5-yard loss. And then on 4th down, an incomplete pass to George Earl. So we got to the 4-yard line one time, but didn't score.
one thing that's not mentioned in there, when we was on the 4-yard line, that guard named Ronnie Davis jumped off sides and put us back 5 yards.
They didn't put that in the paper.
They didn't put that about it,
No.
but I heard that.
I heard about it. It takes a man to admit that, don't it, Billy Joe?
And I'll tell you what save they're making in that game too was a tremendous punt that Steve Hurd got.
That was the next line I had written down here. Where was it from? You remember?
No, I can't, but I
Yeah, he
remember.
was in the end zone a couple
It
yards.
said it was from the 5-yard line,
Did it?
so we would have had to have been in the
He
end
was-
zone.
Okay. But that thing, it went behind the receiver and bounced and took a good bounce and just kept on rolling. I can remember
With
that.
my son,
Me and Steve,
and we go
I punted the whole time my junior year. And I punted about the first few games of senior year. But Steve was getting better all the time. And then we started having punt offs at the end of the practice. We'd have a punt off, and Coach McClendon would watch us or something. Yeah, I think Coach McClendon was watching. We would punt the ball 3 times, and who had the best punts out of the 3 got to punt that Friday night. And of course, he had the best punts. That's a good thing he did, so he just wanted to move that 70-yard punt or whatever.
It said it was 65 yards.
Yeah.
And that's about what the Monroe County record is.
Was it Steve Lefkoe?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
And It was nothing,
And he did it down
both of us would punt a sparrow. I mean, and both of us could punt a ball where it would turn over and sparrow down.
Ended
And,
up playing Tompkinsville.
or either lay flat with the sparrow and not, not get up there and fall directly down. But, Steve got stronger as the year went on. His leg got stronger. Of course, you get older,
He was a sophomore, I
he was
think.
a sophomore and I was a senior. Yeah.
You know, Billy Joe, it fell out and lost, but the Courier Journal write-up after our Mount Sterling game shows you punting.
Yeah, I did.
And they almost blocked it.
Oh, they did. I think the guy that almost blocked that punt was the quarterback, I believe, on offense, is Miller, I believe.
Well, the picture and the way the Courier said they didn't have your name.
No,
They called the punter Eddie Miller. They called you Eddie Miller, and that was. I wondered where they got that.
Yeah, I remember the whole time I ever made it in the paper, my name in the paper, they have a name on it. We don't have a picture of that.
Oh, man, we was young back then.
Yeah, that ball just had cleared my foot. Maybe somebody got a shot of it, and he was up, and I don't know, he cleared his hand about that far.
Well, the Russellville game ends 0-0. And I guess, I believe this is the first year that they changed. At one time, it said they went on some kind of point system. Let's see.
You got so many for a first down.
The team with the greater net yardage was, let's see, if teams tied after there it is. 1 point was awarded to the team with the most first downs, greater net yardage, and the most penetrations to the other club's 20. If the teams tied after those 3 points were considered, then the team with the greater net yardage was declared the winner. That was the previous.
Where'd you get that out of?
It's that TVille News article.
That TVille
Yeah, I've got copies for you there. But that was the previous. But this year, if we had scored that first time we got the football, or no, they got it first actually. But if the first team had scored, it would have been over. It would have been a sudden death thing. Of course, they didn't. They got the ball on the 24-yard line, and it says on first down, Paul tackled him, Paul Evans for no gain. On second down, Paul tackled him. It's got something wrong here. It started on the 24. It says a 9-yard loss back to the 16. Well, that doesn't quite add up. But anyway, it was a big loss by Paul. Then they had an incomplete pass, and then their punt was not very good. Yeah,
Quickly punt, wasn't it?
32 yards
32 yards.
and 7 inches.
No, it just went to the 32-yard line.
Punt to the 32. Yeah, to the 32.
It
Yeah.
couldn't have been an 8 or 10-yard punt.
So, well, if it was back to the 16, that loss would have been about a 16-yard punt. Yeah.
Yeah, come off side of his foot.
Yeah.
But that's how far they were from their goal line. From their goal line, they were 32 yards and 17 inches. Did they get a tape measure out or what?
And we didn't know we'd won the ball game for 2 minutes after it's over or longer. I mean, nobody
I
knew.
knew what was doing,
John, right there it is. See the tape measure?
Yeah, here's the tape measure.
They're looking down at how far Russellville went.
Is that Russellville's measurement?
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't really have to measure ours,
No.
which we'll get to here in a minute. So they kicked off to us. John Carroll fielded at the 25-yard line, but you've already said what happened. As he began running, the dog came on the field. Where do you think he would have gotten to if the dog hadn't come on the field?
Easily the 40. Because he caught it in a dead sprint.
He was
And
home.
it was, like I said, what'd they say, 25?
It says he caught it at the 25.
Ah, shoot. They wasn't nobody even got close enough to tackle him to the 40.
Yeah.
They were blowing the whistle. They were blowing the whistle while the kick was in there. I heard it. And he was waving his arms, the official was. What a way to win a game or lose a game.
They didn't replay it, why not?
So they had to kick over,
Yeah, they did.
and they kicked out of bounds. And that rule has changed. Now you get it at the 35, but that time you got it at the 40. But we would have still had more yardage than they did. So when we got the ball at the 40, we were already further from the goal line than they had been. And that's, yeah. But here's the paper said Leroy gained a couple of yards on first down. If you read your article there, it says, so all the Bears now needed to do was hold on to the ball for 4 plays and not accumulate 7 yards and 20 inches of minus yards. And of course, Leroy gained 2 yards on the first play, but it says, after great consternation on the sideline, word was delivered from the bench that the senior signal caller would simply fall down on the next 3 snaps. Do you remember what Coach Pettit may have said?
Take a knee.
Yeah.
Well, did it say if we run the ball or not?
It said on the first play. It says when quarterback Leroy Tooley fell on the ball 4 straight times. Tooley actually gained a couple of yards on the first down.
Did he?
But after great consternation on the sideline, word was delivered from the bench that the senior signal caller should simply fall down the next 3 plays. He was probably encouraged quite strongly. Don't fumble and just fall down.
Go into the victory formation.
I've wondered what would have happened if we'd have fumbled right there. We would have still advanced to the 40. That's why that was the only game in the history of Kentucky that ever used that.
They changed that
quickly. What a sorry way to lose a game. Man, good way to win a game, I guess, but whatever. That was terrible.
The crowd was shocked. They didn't know what was going on. Nobody was leaving the stands, you know?
We didn't know it was over. We didn't stand around.
So he didn't rush the field and pour the Gatorade on Coach Pettit. And again, in that article, he talks about Paul Evans again, and that's the one where he says he hopes the best little defensive man I've ever seen. He also mentions the injury to Gary Spear. Gary missed all but 1 play in the second half with a shoulder injury suffered in the second quarter, which he said was a recurring thing for Gary.
It was, unfortunately, I was his backup.
Just about every game, he's dislocated. He played in vain all the time.
There was a shot after the game. That was on the front page of the Courier-Journal.
You know, one thing I've been thinking about over the years, if we had to play today's games by today's rules, I don't know if we could do it or not. Because the rules have changed so much since we played. It's just, you know, that first alumni game we had, we practiced over here, of course, on Tompkinsville field. And I was playing defense, center moved the ball, I just tackled his.
I remember that.
You know, what happened? He moved the ball. It's legal now. What?
He took the ball, and this guy was, best I remember, he was setting it like
Yeah. It's like,
foot.
he moved
You
it.
know, I've seen people, you know, twist the ball a little bit, maybe move it an inch or something. This guy was picking that football and setting it out as far as his arm was, and old Ronnie just pounced.
Yeah.
The officials, of course, I center, they would ask me how I wanted the ball laid with the laces this way or that way, because if you moved it any at all, that give the defense the.
Yeah. That
Of course, the officials called you offsides on that, didn't they, Ronnie? They didn't give us the ball.
They didn't give us
Of course, if Ronnie had probably told him, you watch this, what I'm gonna do, because this guy's gonna move the ball, that we might have got that. But
I remember I jumped on one once, he picked it up like you said, and set it back down, and I jumped on it.
Yeah. That was the game we played at Allen County, when Tompkinsville played Allen County, that first alumni game. And a friend of mine, Jimmy Blankenship, was the fullback. He's the one that killed me, broke 3 ribs and a heart contusion, and I spent 2 days in the
What
hospital.
year would that been, Mike?
Oh, what year was that?
Would they carve you off? They carved you off?
Early eighties, I think.
I was in the game, we played Allen County over here.
Yeah, I can't watch that game.
We broke somebody's back.
Right, and that's when it stopped.
Yeah.
I think one of the Bam Bams,
I can't
break.
remember.
I think one of the Kirks broke that guy's back,
Yeah.
like one of the first play of the game.
Yeah.
But I was playing on that team.
What happened, Ricky, is when after I got up, I was waving at Coach Pettit. And then he snapped the ball, and I went, y'all go on. I don't care. So I leveled off the field, and I said, I'm hurt.
So
And I
he wouldn't even take you out in the alumni game. But the win over Russellville, that sent you to Bardstown. And as we've already said, they had a couple of extra days of rest. And the Russellville game, as you've said, was a tough game.
Didn't they have a running back named Rogers?
That was 2 years earlier that was 2 years earlier.
That's the first time I went.
The fly, they called him the fly.
Yeah.
He ain't either fly.
But that game ended with Bardstown winning 15-7. Did we have any other chances to score other than that 7 points?
No, I don't. Not
Well, it was a
really.
good pass play that would have put us on the 10-yard
Right.
line if it wasn't interference that they didn't call.
George Earl used to tell me about that game. He said there were a couple of touchdowns called that game on us. Was he dreaming that? He said the officiating was horrible.
It
He
was.
said there was one play in the end zone that T-bill receivers who were catching, and the Bardstown guy hit him way before the ball got.
Pushed him down.
Yeah.
I went to college with the guy that done the pushing.
George Earl told me all that.
Wasn't it the Kurt Jones said I saw it, you saw it, but the refs didn't?
That's history. We can't change history. We can talk about it.
I tell you, I had never looked, I just happened to look at the lit ratings. I don't feel so bad now losing to Bardstown. Bardstown had the last 6 games, they shut out people. And then somebody before that scored 6 points, and then they shut out 2 more before that. So 8 out of 9 games, they shut people out.
You know who the teams were that shut out?
Yeah, they're here.
But any big names, anything jump
Well,
out?
I didn't really look. I know one of them was something like Stanford. Of course, that was, days before
Lincoln, yeah.
consolidation.
But then the ironic or the whatever thing is, the next week Bardstown plays who for the state championship?
Mount Sterling.
Mount Sterling, yeah.
And Mount Sterling
Mount Sterling won.
is the state champion.
What was the final? Do you know the score? You know the score, John, in that final?
It wasn't a blowout. I think
No,
it's,
about 21-14 or something.
yeah, something like that.
Don't you know Bardstown was a little overconfident knowing we beat Mount Sterling and they beat us? I think that played into that a little. I'm sure Mount Sterling improved as the season went on.
So I guess Mount Sterling was disappointed they lost the recreational bowl, but I guess it sort of ended up well for Mount Sterling at the end, and the Bears were disappointed.
I'd be interested in finding out where that trophy went to, where it's ended up.
Coach Miller, 21-13.
It's one of
That
my-
final. Mount Sterling beat 21-13.
Was it, if I
Played
remember,
Stone Field in Lexington.
I'm sorry, I'm back on the trophy. If I remember right, it was so big it wouldn't fit in the trophy case. So they set it out there for a
Oh,
while.
it was, I remember it being huge.
I heard who got it, but I can't remember.
Yeah. I can't.
They was ready to throw, they was throwing all that away. And they finally just decided to take them up. I bet there's still some in a room in the third floor of that.
They are. We went
You've
over
been
there
in there,
last
haven't you?
year, and most of what's left, there are a lot of band trophies left.
Okay.
We got,
Rotorizing.
there's some track. We pilfered some of them and put them in the museum. But if you ever find the Recreation Bowl trophy and none of you want it, we'll put it in the museum.
It needs to go over
So
there.
if you ever find
It
it,
does.
or if somebody in the class has it, tell him to put it in his will, to leave it to the museum.
How about our regional trophy that year? Do we still have that?
Ah, somebody's got it, man, too.
Guys, I appreciate you coming out tonight. I've enjoyed hearing your stories.
John,
Again,
but
we'll get a final comment from everybody.
Okay,
Just
sorry.
let me remind you who's been with us. Billy Joe Williams, John David Hamilton, Ronnie Davis. John Carroll Hamilton had to leave us. He's still a working man. Ricky Ross, Ricky Miller, and I think we can get John Polston back there in the back. And I'm John Osgatharp, but Ronnie, you lead us off, and we'll see if everybody has a final comment before we let you guys go.
well, all I'm gonna say is, on the roster, I think we ought to recognize the guys that are deceased.
Yeah.
You know, they, a lot of contributions from them, and I know we've talked about a few of them, but I think it'd be good to recognize the ones that are no longer with us,
They go.
if that's okay.
Yeah, go down through there. Of course, again, some of them, I think you said maybe left the team. This was an early roster, and some of them maybe left the team, but, because I know Bobby Hamilton,
Right, Bill Evans,
Steve
to
Hurt,
start with,
yeah, Bill Evans there.
and Bobby Hamilton, Steve Hurt. I think Benny Clemens, you said, you got it right after we left. Jim Hodges, Gary Spears, Paul Evans, and Freddie's still around, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Michael Thompson?
Yeah, he's still alive.
Okay. Leroy, Gordon McAlpin,
Harold Carter.
okay, Harold, and Steve Butler and Greg Prophet.
I say he's still kicking.
Steve's still good.
Steve's still in it.
Yeah,
Steve Butler? Is he?
down in Alabama.
Well, that's the reason I thought he lives in Alabama.
Steve played some on that, y'all, 69.
Okay.
He played some on defense.
John David, appreciate you coming up. I know you got to come up and visit with family, but you came up to visit some of your old teammates.
Yeah.
Any closing?
This was undoubtedly the greatest team that I believe that ever wore a Tompkinsville Bear uniform. Like I said, we were a team.
Yeah.
Coach Peck, Coach McClendon did a fantastic job with us, and everybody came together and chilled as one. The greatest. Now, I've always said this, and I'm gonna let it go. I said, this is the team, if they could put a team in the Hall of Fame, this 69 team needs to be there.
That's a suggestion I've been wanting to bring up. Other halls of fame have that. They have teams
Yeah.
in there as well as individuals. And, yeah. Of course, some of the individuals are on there, but
Yeah.
as you said, you know, the team needs to be remembered. Those of us old enough remember it, and that's why we're doing this, so some that are younger can hear some of these stories.
John, of course, has a scholarship to go to Western. But who was coach at that time at Western?
Jimmy Fikes.
Jimmy Fikes, Yogi Meadows told me this, said Jimmy Fikes told him that he should give everybody on that 69 football team a scholarship. Say it in the chest, but we were deep. Was that, I guess Paul had a scholarship to Western too. Got hurt, of course.
Rodney walked on for a little bit, didn't he? Or did he? I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
I know he
I
went.
think he did.
I think he walked on.
Who's
but
that?
then-
Rodney
Pearson.
I think he walked on to Western.
Because I think Paul played a little down there, Paul Bashan, Johnny, a great career at Western.
Paul got hurt down there.
Paul went somewhere his freshman year.
And Elois Grooms
Yeah.
at Tech and in the pros.
I think Paul went and tried to walk on at Notre Dame. I guess I'm dreaming that. Paul didn't come to Western till his second year.
Okay, but that's where he got hurt, right?
Yeah.
Ricky Ross, I've always wanted, how'd you make it out of Meshack, come up here and play with that team? But I'm sure it was worth, it's worth your travel to come up and play with them.
I'll tell you what, I hauled in 1,100 square bales of hay one day and made it to practice about 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
I bet you won't find any guys that do that in this year in August.
No, we're dedicated, every one of us, and we tried to be the best we could be. So, just glad to hear reminisce old memories.
Ricky Miller, Ricky was a junior on that team, but I know you've got a lot of good memories of being a part of that.
If I had one statement to make, John, I believe if you put the lie detector on me, that I would pass. I'd rather played that year at Tompkinsville and had happened what happened than say been on the Mount Sterling team that won the state. I'd rather been here.
You'd rather had on the old black and gold.
Exactly.
He's a bear.
Always a bear.
Always a bear.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Everybody have a safe trip back home. And
John, I appreciate you getting us together.
Yes.
we appreciate it. We're filming in addition to our previous video, sort of in the middle of our video, as we were talking with the 1969 Tompkinsville Bear team, John and Carol Hamilton had to leave. He had to go to work.
Yeah,
You're still a working man.
I'm still
John.
working man, yeah.
So we brought him back to get his closing comments and some things that we talked about after he left. We hadn't gotten through all of the schedule, and we'll go down through here and maybe look at some games that and some memories he may have had from some of those games. I think we had completed talking about the first Russellville game, the 8-0 game over at Russellville. And right after you left, we talked to John David, and we had talked before we started the film a little bit about your experience there in the 60s. Of course, this was 69, and we know 68 was a turbulent year in the United States for different reasons. But you guys went through the desegregation, and John David talked about it a little bit, and I wanted to get some of your recollections as to how that went and what it was like being the first students that were a part of an integrated school system.
Well, I remember, I'm thinking the first day that we went to high school thing. Of course, I knew several of those guys because we played football in the 8th grade, but the freshman year, I remember Jerry Slick G and Mikey Kerr. We kind of buddied up, was always friends. Of course, Slick was always coming up with some kind of gadget, how to make a quarter or whatever. He'd flip a coin, have both hands on a coin, and you call it, and one would be the other, but he never would open up his other hand.
So he'd have two under
He'd
there?
have two under his hand. Yeah, I remember that so well. But really, I didn't really know much about racism. I wasn't aware of racism. I was just never taught anything about racism. I didn't know what was going on. When we first got there, everything was smooth. I mean, I don't recall any problems with anybody, as far as I know. I mean, there wasn't. of course, like I said, I wasn't aware. That was in the back of my mind maybe, but I couldn't bring it out because I didn't know what it meant. You know, you see a lot of stuff on TV and stuff like that, you know, the Martin Luther King deal and just everything. And like, man, I'm glad I'm not there, you know, because I felt like I was treated fair. I really felt that everything was good. I didn't know.
And it may have been part of the good thing of living in a small
town
community. Yeah.
Yeah, because everybody knew everybody, and everybody was treated. I thought everybody was treated fairly. I didn't experience it. I mean, I'm not going to say I know it was there, but I didn't really experience it.
Again, I believe that we were going through the roster, I believe, when you had to leave, and I think the next game we talked about was Greensburg, which was a 64-0 shutout. But then there was the only regular season loss of the year was the fifth game to Lafayette. They beat us 20-6. What were your memories of that one regular season loss?
I remember the night. Of course, we played down at Lafayette that night, and that was a heck of a football team. I mean, offensive and defensive, they were just solidly tough. You know, to me, that was the hardest game all year was the Lafayette game. Those guys were. I mean, they were just good. They were just so well. They was well coached, and they did everything just like the right way. They was in cadence with everything. They were just a solid football team. And the one part that I remember and I recall that I told you about is like, I don't think I've ever have hyperbolated in my life. And that was a game after that Lafayette game. Man, I didn't know what was going on with me. It was scary. I'm like, what's going on with me? You know, because they wore me out. They hit me around, knocked me around. And of course, it was a give and take kind of thing, but I want to tell you something. The hardest football team that I ever played against was Lafayette, Tennessee.
Yeah. Now, I believe, and again, we're going to tack this on to the end of our other video. I believe Ricky Miller said they made it to the state championship game, but were runner-up in the state that year. So they were a very good team.
And of course, high school football in Tennessee at that time, you know, that was more like high school, like college. You know what I'm saying? They were just that well programmed or something. I don't know what it was, but they were a different team. They really were.
The next week was, I guess, really our last challenging game in the regular season. After that, we had Cumberland, Caverna, Metcalfe, Council, and Warren County. They were all blowouts. But the next game was Glasgow, and that was a 12-0 win. And it's always good to beat the Scotties.
Always.
What was your memories of that win over Glasgow that year?
As we were speaking earlier, I couldn't remember if Jerry Dunn, you remember him?
Yeah.
I can't remember if he played on that Glasgow team or was it the year before?
He graduated in '68.
In '68,
Yeah.
So, okay. I just remember just Glasgow, the name Glasgow, you know, the team Glasgow. It was such a big deal for everybody. I mean, everybody got up for that game. Whether you didn't get up for none of the rest of the game, it was a Glasgow game. It was the game. That was our season right there, you know, basically was playing against Glasgow. Glasgow was always tough. Always good.
And of course, I think it was a district game, but
It was-
again, the guys talked about, being short maybe a year or two before because of, not being able to beat Glasgow or maybe barely beating Glasgow to get into the playoffs or whatever. But that's what, I guess, allowed us to play that second Russellville.
Oh man, that was a turning point of the whole season right there. The Glasgow win. The rest of our schedule, the rest of the teams that we played, it wasn't even competitive, but it was a football game. But Glasgow, I mean, you could just pencil it in that it's going to be one of those games that whoever takes the lead first and hold it, they're going to win the game. Yeah. And that's the way it was. Always was with Glasgow.
Yeah. as we said, Cumberland was a blowout, Caverna, Metcalf, Campbellsville, Warren County, that ended the regular season, again, with just the one loss. Of course, ran up some big scores there, 64 against Greensburg, but as we're finishing up talking to the other guys, as you look down through those games, other than Lafayette scoring 20, Mount Sterling 6, Somerset, Russellville, Greensburg, Glasgow, Caverna, Campbellsville 0. Didn't score a point.
Right.
Cumberland 7, Metcalf 6. The Russellville game that we'll talk about 0-0. So you had a great defensive team.
We did.
Looking at those scores.
We did. And of course, I was telling you, we played both ways, offense and defense. After turning to defense, we was back on offense, vice versa. We played both ways all through the game. I really don't remember ever being on the sideline, unless it was a timeout or break or something like that, because we were just, that team was some kind of special football team.
Yeah. So you had to have some pretty good conditioning to be able to do that.
That's what beat a lot of teams, is our conditioning. I mean, we would, and listen, honestly, I love practice because I love running. I love to run, and that's what we did. I mean, he would work us, and I'm thanking for it, because I think that's how we got through a lot of our games, was our conditioning.
You had the 8-0 win at Russellville, the third game of the season. And then the first playoff game, which, again, the playoff system totally different now. The first playoff game was actually the region championship game against Russellville. That was supposed to be played here. What do you remember about the snow, which postponed it until Monday?
Yeah.
I guess, when did you realize you weren't going to play on Friday night, and how disappointing was that to not play the Friday night?
It was, and in a way, maybe it was a blessing in disguise. Everybody was the whole town was talking about the Russellville game, couldn't wait to play Friday night. And then the disappointment was like when they had to call the game off because of the snow, they just had to call it off. And like I said, we played on a Monday, and the good part about that is the entire school was let out. So people that didn't get to see us play was there to watch us play. I mean, that whole field was just surrounded with people.
I guess it was in the Tompkinsville News, or it said possibly the largest crowd ever to attend any event in Monroe County.
I'd say that probably was. I mean, there was people from everywhere. I had some relatives that lives in Salina, and I remember even before the game, and we was walking through to get on the field and stuff like that. I remember seeing a few of my, friends and stuff like that from Salina. I mean, it was like a college atmosphere. It was just there. The people was there to cheer us on and watch us play. Yeah. It felt great. And that was a hard-fought game.
Yeah. I don't think we had the stats to the first Russellville game, but the stats for this game said we had 142 yards rushing, and Russellville 110 yards rushing. That's not very much.
No.
Either way, I guess you probably had plenty of games. You probably had 140 or 50 yourself. So you carried 9 for 52, Paul 13 for 46. So that was I think Ricky Ross and others talked about, and this was a hard fought game.
It was. Oh my gosh, yeah. Tell you this, I've never, you hear about people seeing these stars and stuff like that, and then when they get hit or whatever. I was going against, I was playing a defensive back, and I remember this kid caught the ball, and him and I ran together. We each other helmet, I don't know if I went back or he went back, but I remember the hit because I remember getting up and I'm dizzy and I'm seeing these little floaters or whatever just going on. I'm like, man, what is wrong? This kid killed me. it was just like, I don't know, like rims or something, you know. I remember the impact of that hit, you know, and I guess we're both lucky to get out without, but I did see stars. Yeah, that's true. You do see those.
I guess we didn't have much of a concussion protocol back then.
Oh gosh, no.
If you were on your feet, it was get back in there.
Yeah, there was. Let's do this again. Let's do this again.
Do you remember, we were watching the earlier interview with the guys and the fact that we did get down one time, maybe inside the 10-yard line. But as this game goes along, do you remember if there was pressure or what the feeling was as you kept going on and it's 0-0? Nobody's getting close to scoring.
It was so different because, like you said, nobody was scoring or whatever. But the defense was just on both sides. I give Russellville all the credit in the world. The defense was just, it was some kind of special. I've never been in a game like this before, you know, playing. I've never, ever. But our offense just couldn't, when we get to a point where we was kind of picking up on the momentum or something like that, something would happen. They would hold us, you know what I'm saying? It's just like back and forth, you know. Yeah. I don't know if we ever really caused 50-yard line or whatever. I don't recall that, but I know it was one of the hardest football games that I have ever experienced other than the Lafayette, Tennessee game. Yeah, it was some kind of special.
And I think we may have talked, of course, you beat Mount Sterling the first game of the season.
Right,
and
right.
we know that they went on to win the state championship.
Right.
But you and Russellville played two games, and the score after 2 games is 8-0. I think I may have mentioned when we had the other guys, but do you think it's possible that Tompkinsville and Russellville are actually the 2 best teams in the state that year?
There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, no, there's no doubt in my mind. That was the games. I'm telling you, I think we were, yeah, I really do. I really do.
When we talked to Coach McClendon about this game, he thinks, well, we'll go ahead and talk about that. We'll still come back to Russellville, but he thinks that the fact that we played on Monday, having a short week to prepare for the Bardstown game, was a big factor in not being able to beat Bardstown the next week.
I'm not going to say that I don't know what it was, but it just didn't feel right. You know, from the first kickoff to the first punt or whatever, it just didn't feel, there was something that wasn't there for us or whatever. I mean, Bardstown, don't get me wrong, a very good football team. You know, I mean, they won the state, but they're a very good football team. But I felt like we had played more a rougher team than Bardstown was. You know, like I said, the Russellville game and Mount Sterling game, that was, those games stands out in my mind.
Yeah. Well, let's go back and finish the Russellville game. It 0-0, and we get into something that's never been done before, this odd overtime deal. We were able to hold Russellville. They only got they only got like 32 yards from their goal line. I think part of it was because they had a bad punt that went off the side of the guy's foot. So that means when we get the ball, all we have to do is get 32 yards from the goal line, and we've won. And of course, we talked with the other guys about it. When they kicked off to us, it looked like you were going to win the ball game just by fielding the kickoff and getting past the 32-yard line. But do you have any remembrance of? Did you see the dog out of the corner of your eye?
Not until I got just like practically right up on it. I mean, there was this gaping hole, you know, and I remember seeing it and catching it, and I remember like I'm seeing this, and I'm like, I'm going. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm going all the way. I felt there's no doubt in my mind that I could have scored on that. I mean, I'm not bragging, but I could just there's a vision. I remember this this ball just coming to me just perfectly, you know, and I'm already on the move. So I already had my momentum kind of going, and I'm like, I knew I could have scored on that. I mean, I did. And I didn't whistle or anything. No, I didn't hear nothing. I really and truly didn't until they said that, you know, it was blown dead or whatever. You know, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
Like I said, it's such a great ball game, but fortunately, as you know, the dog didn't affect the outcome in our side.
favor, yeah.
You know, we were able to fill the kickoff successfully and get past the 32-yard line to be able to win on yardage. But what an unusual way to win a football game.
It was meant to be.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, it was meant to be for us to win that game. And about the yardage situation and all that stuff, man, I had no idea about nothing like that. You know, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't really realize that we had won until everybody's jumping and screaming on the sideline, stuff like that. You know, I'm like,
How do you know that it's still 0-0?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, you know, apparently we must have did something right because everybody was really elated about that whole situation.
Oh, man. Well, it's a football game that, you know, anybody, I guess 60 or older, will always remember something about it.
Yeah.
I guess it's one of the more memorable Tompkinsville high school football games ever.
Yeah.
That 0-0 Russellville game.
Going down in infamy, yeah, absolutely. That's just something's unheard of.
Yeah. It did allow us to that was a region championship, so we're in the Final Four of the state of Kentucky in Class A, and we have to go to Bardstown. I think we asked the other guys how it was determined that we played the Russellville game at home, and I wonder how it was determined that we played the Bardstown game up there. I guess the KHSAA maybe determined that, but Coach McClendon, when we talked to him about it, I think he said we tried to get that game moved to a Saturday, but Bardstown's coach, of course, they had played on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't postpone their game, so they had the regular schedule of practice or whatever in preparation for us. Of course, you've already mentioned that something just didn't seem right. But they do beat us. Bardstown beats us 15-7. What other memories do you have of that Bardstown game other than the fact that there somehow just wasn't a right vibe to that game?
I remember most, I think it's the last play, they had the ball, and Leroy Tilly was our defensive back, and the guy kind of pushed him in the end zone. And he catch the winning touchdown pass. I mean, you could see it as plain as day. You know, I mean, you could see what happened. It was offensive pass interference, but it wasn't called. You know, it wasn't called. So.
Well, after you left, and when we were talking to the other guys, Ricky Miller talked about it. He said he went to college with that young man, and that was actually the coach's son. And I think, the way Ricky told it, I think he thought Leroy was going to intercept it. So he said, it's either push him and get a penalty or let him intercept it. So he pushed him. Intentionally pushed him. Nothing was called, and he catches the pass.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly what happened. And oh my gosh, I think I've never seen Coach Pettit so irate. He was livid. I mean, I've never seen him like that before, you know. He usually just take things evenly flow or whatever, but he was pretty irate. I mean, it was just so obvious. That's what really, more than anything else. If it was just like, you know, a little slip like that or whatever, but he was just blatantly obvious what had happened. That's about the only thing I really remember of that game. It cost us a championship.
And that was late in the game.
Oh yeah. It was the fourth quarter with maybe just like I'm thinking just like a few minutes left to play in the game. You know, it wasn't like it was late in the fourth quarter when that happened.
So we may have had another overtime game if they hadn't scored. They beat us 15-7. I don't. Did they go? I wonder if did they go for two?
A
then
2-point
to make
conversion.
it to 15.
Yeah,
So it could have been 7-7 and had another overtime situation.
could have been,
What might have been, but they go on. They play Mount Sterling the next week. I don't have the score to that game, but Mount Sterling beats them, and they win the state championship. The team that we had beaten the first game of the season. That is, I know it seems like it would just have to leave sort of a bad taste in your mouth to know, how close
We was there.
we were.
Yeah, he was there. It stayed in for a very long time. It stayed in for a very long time. Honestly, and this is not boasting or being a brag or whatever, but man, we were the best football team of all these teams that we played. Other than Lafayette, Tennessee, we were the best football team in the state of Kentucky that year.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
Well, I think you go down as one of, if not the greatest Tompkinsville high school football team that was played. Now, I think Billy Joe may have made the statement. He thought we might have even been better the year before. Let's see, the year before, I guess it was 8-1-1. Maybe the year before.
I can't remember who that time was. I remember.
I think that came out of the newspaper that I read.
Okay.
Ricky or somebody may have known, but a great record that year as well. And Billy Joe, I think he may have commented that he thought it might have even been better that year than we were in '69.
Well, there was a couple of years that was just. We were just a group of hard-working, in better shape. I keep saying this, and I always thought this. Our conditioning won so many games for us. Especially at the end in the fourth quarter, man. We were still like, heck, let's go play another quarter, whatever. That's how good a condition we were in. We were in top shape. The majority of us.
The other guys talked. I guess one of the main injuries that bothered us was Gary Spear with his shoulder injury. He had to be out a lot. Do you remember any other guys that had nagging injuries that it caused them to miss?
Honestly, no. I don't recall of any. I don't. No, I can't remember if they did. I don't recall that.
I know they said Gary had a shoulder issue that
And
caused him to be
pop that thing back
out
in.
quite a bit.
Yeah, he was a tough ball player. Gary Spears was. He was so hard nosed and gritty, And his spirit level was it was just unbelievable, man. Because he was in pain, he was hurting, but yet still he wouldn't take himself out physically. He would have to be somebody to do a substitute for him or whatever. That's how tough he was. He was.
We went around the room after we finished with the other guys, just asked if they had any closing remarks, other memories that we hadn't talked about or we didn't touch on. Is there anything, any guys on the team, any other games or whatever that maybe comes to your mind that you'd like to talk about?
I would just like to, I am so glad to have been a part of this football program. And the guys that I played football with, because I can't even recall one instance or any kind of confrontation wherever. We played as a team and everybody was for each other. There was no animosity, there was no jealousy, we played football. That was our main focus. And thank God for Paul Evans, Leroy Tully, those guys, those memories that I've had. Of course, we grew up together, did everything together, but those two were special people in my mind. They were some kind of special football players and friends.
Yeah. And it was just, and we may have talked about this at the beginning of when we talked with the other group. It was just Coach Petty and Coach McClendon, wasn't it? You
Yes,
only
sir.
had the two coaches.
Yeah,
Today, a lot of teams, they have all these,
4 or 5
you know,
different.
7 or 8 coaches,
Yeah.
and you had two very knowledgeable men.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
had Frank Pettit and Bill McClendon.
Absolutely. And I never seen any kind of contradiction between either one of, you know, if one said, this is what we're gonna do, this is how we should do it, that was it. You know, there wasn't no debating or anything that I seen or nothing. And I also wanted to thank Coach Prince Stanford and Mr. Jerome, Coach Taylor, taught me the game of football because I never really, like I said, like John David said, we never played no organized football and stuff like that, and the practices and stuff, you know, they gave us our structure on how to play the game of football, you know, and then Coach Pettit and Coach McClendon took it to a different level too, so.
Of course, and back then, it wasn't like every NFL game was on TV. You might see a game on Sunday. There'd only been, maybe 2 Super Bowls at that time.
Yeah.
NFL, and even college football's big, but NFL wasn't what it
No.
is today, and you weren't watching it every minute
Oh,
on TV.
no. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Jim Brown was my hero growing up.
Yeah.
He was just, I just remember him, you know, they'd knock him down and he'd get up. He'd be slow, but he would, you know, he'd get up and then he'd back off doing the same thing again. So I thought he was some kind of special football player.
Well, this was some kind of a special team. But again, anyone that grew up around that time still remembers and will always remember, I believe. And we wanted some people that weren't around then to be able to at least see some of you guys that were a part of that and hear some of your stories. There were only a couple of good articles that year in the Tompkinsville News after of course, about the Russellville game for sure, and I think maybe after the Somerset or the Mount Sterling game. And I think one of them actually was a reprint out of the Courier-Journal. So we didn't have real good coverage that year from the local paper, but there will always be stories about that team. And again, some of those games, and I'm so thankful that you guys have shared a few minutes with us to give us some of those memories.
Well, thank you for allowing us to reminisce, because from the first time we talked about that, man, it's just like everything just started rushing back, you know, and you're like, man, I remember when I did this, or I did this, or what happened, whatever. But the Russellville game and that hit that guy hit me, I'll never forget that. I saw the stars. So yeah, you see stars or something. You really do.
Yeah, John, thank you again. We've been trying for a little while to get John's closing remarks. He had to slip away the first time we got together, and we appreciate you taking a few minutes to come back and talk to us today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. I really did enjoy it. Good to reminisce.
I wish